Hello folks and welcome. I did a really similar video for the Linux Mint desktop, Cinnamon, regarding terminal commands. First I'm going to talk about having fun with calendar or NCal. You can do 3 months, whole year. You can use this year, next year, previous years. You can do look up a little bit of research back in time if you need to know a specific day of the week that a day fell on. And you can also use that for birthdays. These can be fun with your friends and family. If you got somebody's birthday, you can actually punch in a command and tell them what day of the week they were born on. They may have a little fun doing that. I will talk a little bit about more advanced features using cal and NCal, where we can take a 12-month and actually dump it into a document and then print it from there. We can also change the font sizes once they're converted into documents. And you're going to start with terminal. Okay, filming in 4K today. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to do some cleanup first. All of these files that you see at the bottom are all generated by terminal, all of them. So I'm going to erase them so we can redo them. So Control L, our user for today is Gary. It's just a made-up name. So let's open up terminal. Terminal can be your friend, and especially if you're kind of new to Linux or new to terminal, a lot of people shy away from this. The first thing I'm going to do is show you a quick way to resize things, which is hold down the Control key, Shift, and hit the plus key a couple of times, generally next to your backspace. That'll make it larger. Now, how do you read this stuff? Well, this part here is your username. In this case, Gary. Gary's our made-up name user for today. And then followed by an @ symbol. And then behind that is the name of the computer. So that's what I called this one. Then it has a colon, a tilde, and a $sign. And it's blinking, waiting for me to say something. This also tells me where I'm logged in at, because when you get into remote machines, which I'll do toward the end of the video, this will actually change. So man pages is something that you may want to get familiar with when you're looking up commands. Now, cal is generally not installed on Zorin, but you can install it by using sudo apt install ncal, and it will install this. Then you can give a definition of it. So it'll explain ncal and cal because they're both the same installation application and also the same descriptive. So basically the dash stuff here are called switches or options. So I'm going to show you a couple of different options. To get out of man pages, let me pull it up a little bit further. You can see the Q to quit and H for help. So just type in Q and you're out of there. All right. Here's a very basic command that people usually learn first also is clear. Clears the screen, but doesn't exit. All right. Now, if I type in exit now, it'll exit. But you can also, when you're in Secure Shell, type in the word exit and it only brings you back to your local machine when you do that. Then if you type in exit the second time, it'll close this terminal box. We'll talk about that maybe toward the end of the video. So punching up cal, very simple, or ncal, also very simple. What is the difference on the two? Well, you have the Sunday through Saturday kind of running across your screen versus it's in a vertical fashion here, but it also highlights today's date, which is June 6th. What if you want to see 3 months worth of data? So you can just type in cal-3. You should see 3 months with your current month in the middle. I can also do that with ncal. I will not clear the screen just yet. So you can see the two differences. Again, you can see that today's date is highlighted. But it only displays the Sunday through Saturday once on those 3 months. So this is still the same no matter how we slice this. So Sunday is 4, 11, 18, and 25. Well, you can see the same here. And then June, and then July. We can also do a full year. This one I will clear the screen. So let's just use cal first and -y. Now this is this year, current year, 2025. because that's where I'm filming. All right, so June 6, 2025 is when I'm filming this. I'm not sure when you're watching this, but this is the full year, all the way January through December. I'm going to show you a way you can take this output and put it into a file in a second. But let's do the other one first. So ncal, do I want to do clear? Yeah, why don't we do that first? ncal -y is also 12 months. And as you can see, it displays it in blocks of 4, but it's only got the Sunday through Saturday only once in these subsections. And then if you're looking for Sunday, you would just walk across. So January, February, March, and April, these are all the Sundays. Some people prefer to looking at that. You can see today's highlighted one. So we can also do 3 months, and that's rather easy. So punching up clear. So ncal space -3, 3 months. Cal space -3, 3 months. Now let's talk a little bit about printing. So would you like to make either a single calendar, 3 months, or a full year that you can actually print? And even change the font sizes in a word processor? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. So the files are going to be automatically saved here in Gary's home folder. Control L. You can now see the username, Gary. It'll produce these files in here. And I can either do them in text format, or let's just use doc and then use a word processor. I think that may be easier for you to understand this. So do we want to do this year or next year? Because we can also do Cal 2026-Y for next year's calendar. And we can print that. So let's do that. But instead of me, I'm going to punch up clear. Instead of me repeating all these commands, I'm going to use the upper arrow key on my keyboard to cycle through these commands. And this is the command I want, instead of me retyping all this. So it's blinking after the Y. Now there's cal space the year 2026-Y. I'll put another space and put that symbol there. Take a look at your right hand shift key, question mark, and then the key next to it. Okay, you may have to hit shift. You'll see it. That's going to send that data over to something. Put a space and give it a name. So I'm just going to call it cal 2026.doc. Why not text? Well, I could do txt, but I want to open this in a word processor. Doesn't look like anything happened, but it did. Now I'm going to open this graphically for you. It's right here. Right click. I can open this with Kate, which is a text editor, but I'm going to open this with LibreOffice Writer. Okay. If you want to change the layout, we can do that. I'm going to swing this over to page style, and I'm going to swing this over to landscape. Let's say you don't like the font sizes. Well, you can highlight the whole thing. Control A. So if I go back to the home screen, you can see the font that is currently lit up. But you can also see the size, and I'll change that to a 12. Okay, got a little bit bigger, didn't it? Sure did. We can also change that to something goofy. Okay. Would I do it this way? Probably not, but I'm just showing you can. So whatever you decide to use. You can also maybe do that this way. This way. You get the idea. Okay. I'm going to not save anything. What if you just wanted to print that as is? Well, let's just open this in Kate. Now this is a text editor, but Kate can also display this. Do you know what the command for print is? It should generally work in Windows and also in Linux, Control P. If you have a printer assigned already, I do, I can print. Okay, you may want to convert that to landscape or whatever format you want, and you can print that, and you can do the same with your word processor. So that's next year's calendar, completely 12 months. And at the same time, you can also add pictures. So I'm going to do Cal, and basically no Y, because I just want a single month. And I'm going to redirect that output to June 2026. Dot, do I want to use text or doc? I'll just use doc. Okay, there's no, it doesn't say where it got sent to. It just gives you, as soon as you put that in there, it's just enter. And it puts it directly into your primary home folder. From here, you can move these to anywhere, like documents or whatever. But this is a single calendar. So I'll open that with Libre again, all by its lonesome. Okay, and again, I have the choice of making things a lot bigger. Do I want it in the vertical fashion, or do I want to fix that first? Well, then it's all up to you. So let's do that. Let's go with layout, and we're going to do style and landscape instead of portrait. From here, I can make this bigger though. So going back to home, changing the, I'll just leave it in this font, and then I will just increase the font sizes. Let's go with maybe, let's see what a 32 looks like. Now that's calendar is huge. Okay, then I can add a picture to this if I wanted to. And I can actually make a complete year calendar, 12 months, and then use a 3-hole punch, staple it or whatever I want to make a whole bunch of these, 12-month calendar if you like. Poor man's calendar. When I use Control P for print, you can see what it's going to look like. This is an 8.5 by 11 thumbnail. And again, I have enough room in here for pictures. But the pictures of the friends, the pets, or whoever. So speaking of, now that you know how to do calendars and printing rather easily directly from terminal, you can make a whole bunch of these different kind of files. All 12-month calendar, single month, 3 months, whatever. Let's talk about having fun with birthdays now. So when you type in Cal, 1 is January, 12 is December. Or you can type it this way also. So I'll give you both examples in a second. So we'll do January, which is 1 space. So it's Cal space 1 space what year? I have a friend maybe born in 1988. That friend of yours born January of 1988 was born on the 28th. He or she was born on a Thursday. Having a little fun with your friends and family. I'll give it to you in a different way using NCal. This time I'm going to type JAN, but I'm going to use the same year. And it's just in a vertical fashion. Sunday is still 3/10/17, and etc. You can also do this with future and back in time. Example of that, let's say May 5 of 1452. That would be correct. That would be the year. So there's the calendar from May of 1452. So if you're doing some historic research, you needed to know what the 16th was, what day of the week. It was a Tuesday. You can punch in your own birthday to find out the future, 5 years from now, what day of the week that's going to fall on. Or use your own birthday if you don't know what day of the week you were born on. Or anyone else for that matter. Having fun with calendar. So again, we can print these by sending the calendar output to a file. Easy to do. Now let's talk about a couple of simple commands like free. That's the amount of RAM and swap file, or swap, period. Some people have partitions, some people have a file. But this one's not in use. Is that hard to read? Well, let me type in free dash small h. Is that a little bit better to read? It's 31 gigabytes, but it's actually 32 if you convert the whole number, because the math is being done here is different than the one on the top. It's still close enough for us to read. 31 gigabytes is technically 32 gigabytes. 2.3 free is 25 gigabytes and shared is 316 megabytes. Swap file is 2 gigabytes. Now that should be easy to read. 0 in use, 2 free. MAN free, to get a definition of what that is. Display the amount of free and used memory in a system. You can also use these commands remotely. Q to quit. All right, here's another one for you, DF. So DF by itself is hard to read, what a lot of people will find. So SDA is generally your standard partition for installing. Not always though, but SDA is the primary drive. Partition 2 is where Linux is installed, in this case, Zorin. And that is represented by that symbol. So 12% in use, available, used, and starting with. And then the first partition of SDA is actually the boot. Not really going to talk about that other than just to show you that is SDA2 and SDA1. If I type in df-h, that's one math calculation. df space dash big H is another math calculation. It is still 12% no matter how I slice it. It's 12% here, here, and here. But these math calculations are slightly different. And let me show you why. MAN DF. Report file system disk space usage. Again, you can run this remotely. The small h, which is human readable. Now, when you see this, it says print sizes and powers of 1024. It does not mean it prints on your printer. It means displaying that on your screen. Printing it to the screen. Anyways, they give you an example of that one. The big H also outputs to your screen in powers of 1000 instead of 1024. That's why the math calculation is different on these two. Hopefully that was clear. So DF, again, by itself, DF space dash small h, and DF space dash big H. Generally, what I look at right away is right here. It's still 12%. And we can also do this on remote systems, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, punching up clear. So I have talked about the cal command in length, and then the df and the free, which is RAM. And now let's talk about the most basic thing that's installed on all Linux distributions, top. Top is, I'll give you the definition of it. Top is a Linux, displays Linux processes. It's very common, but it's also very powerful at the same time. So when I run top on this one, what you'll see in the very top corner, no pun intended, is the word top with current time, 11:22. You can look at my clock down here. I'm circling with my mouse. Then it also tells me how long it's been running since I last logged in or rebooted. An hour and 7 minutes. One user, load average, number of tasks. One is running, 350 are snoozing or sleeping. No stopped, no zombies. The RAM information is in MIB format here. And the swap is also in MIB format there. This is process 1. I'm going to try to highlight and grab it. Is system D. I'm going to show you another remote system in a minute, which will not have that for process 1. PID is process ID number. You will see root and Gary in here. Gary is our made-up name user for today. The GPU screen recorder is consuming the most amount of cycles. And you don't see it on my panel because it's hidden. But it's recording this nonetheless. How do you get out of a top command? Well, there's 2 ways. You can use Q, just like on man pages, or you can use Control C. Q is a lot more convenient. Punching up clear. Do we know what Secure Shell is? SSH is something that in the future you may want to explore if you're a new user to Linux. Once you set up the machines properly, you can use Secure Shell on your local network to play with other Linux machines, or even Microsoft. But I'm going to SSH into another machine using its IP address. I am not using public and private keys, so I'm using usernames on my local network. I happen to know the IP address of this machine. It will request a password. And this is an encrypted connection. I am now logged on MX99. That is the name of the computer. And I can run a top command on that system also. It's been running 7 days, 3 hours, 47 minutes. 152 processes, 1 is running, 151 are snoozing, no zombies, and the RAM information is a lot less than this machine. Process ID 1 is not system D on this system. It says INIT. Okay, Control C. Actually, let me punch it up clear. I'm still logged into this machine. So we're going to do a df-h. And actually, let me use the uppercase on that one. So this is an NVMe hard drive that it's using. And it's on partition 2. And it's 2 terabyte and 8% in use. You can also, in your file manager, log into this machine because it's running SSH and use SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, in a graphical environment. That is a beauty that a lot of people like about using Secure Shell, if it's set up properly. I have other videos, by the way. It's 8%. All right, so we can we can also do the free command, and let's use the small h. So you can see that it doesn't have a lot of RAM, but it's enough to run that machine. 8 gigs of RAM, and hardly, not even 1 gig in use. It's very frugal, in other words. But it does have one of the swap files has been activated, or at least the swap has been activated, because I can see 768 kilobytes in use, or used. All right, let's find out some more information on this system. Is NeoFetch installed on that one? I think it is. It is. And you can see the logo is not the same as the Zorin machine when I started this video. It says MX on it, and it's a 64-bit. I can give you better information by using INXI. I like to use this option. You can get lots of information regarding INXI. If you just do like a G, for instance, that's just graphics. I'll repeat that and use big FXE and let it load. So it's reading a bunch of information, and again, this is a remote machine. So you can see that the INIT system is not system D. That's what it's using. But I can get a wealth of information, including what kind of system this is and what kind of Linux kernel it's running. It's MX23.6. And it's a Debian-based system. You can see it right there. Machine, CPU, graphics, audio, network, Bluetooth. Oh, do we want to get a definition of what kind of hard drive that is? It's a Samsung. NVMe on partition 1. And That's the boot partition, by the way. It's a 990, 2 terabyte. Now the partitions over here, though, will also tell me that the partition 2 is formatted with extension 4. That would be Linux. And then you have the boot partition, the boot EFI, is on partition 1. Yeah, there's a wealth of information you can get on these kind of things. Exit just drops me out to the local machine. Punching up clear. So we can get all kinds of information on systems like that. I'll do INXI in this local machine. If INXI is not installed on your particular Linux distro, it will normally tell you that. This one has been up and running for 1 hour and 13 minutes. If I needed to quickly log into the other machine, guess what I would do? I could use my history line buffers. Do you see line 293? Well, that has an SSH command on it, and I can tell you it's formatted properly just by looking at it. You'll get to know that after a while. Explanation point 293. I don't have to type in everything, just the password. And now I'm logged into that system. So running a top command, again, this is not the local machine. That one's been running for 7 days, 3 hours, 52 minutes. I generally do everything remotely on this machine. That also includes updates. This is the history buffer on that machine, not this local machine. And you can see that I installed over here on line 483 NeoFetch. You can also see on line 466, I did a remote update and used the 2 AND symbols to actually do the upgrade at the same time, because I took the output and sent it over to do the full thing. And then I manually rebooted the machines using a sudo command. I can rerun those at any time. That's what remote commands are good for. Type in exit. Where is your history buffer? Well, this is the history buffer on this local machine. It's only got 299 line entries. It's stored right here. Hit Control H and it'll show you your hidden files. The .bash history, if you have this open and terminal is open and you have performed a command, it will not be listed until you close terminal. Then it'll update this file. So this is line 255. The last command, it says NeoFetch on it. What I'm going to do now is close terminal. Okay, and I'm going to use the exit command for that. This file just got updated because I'm going to show you what the last entry is. It's not the same. You can see that the last thing that I punched into terminal was the word exit. Too small for you? How about that? Okay, keep in mind this is Kate. If you have another text editor, I think, let me see if there's another text editor in here. Yeah, there's the plain one here. Okay, so sometimes it'll look a little different to you. What text editor is this? This is gedit. There's lots of different text editors out there. Okay, so if we are looking at this all the way to the bottom, 300, right? For this text editor. And I'll open up terminal and type in the word history as soon as I make that larger for you. That would be Control Shift, hold those down and hit the plus key a couple of times. And those are those line entries. So if I wanted to rerun, let's look for that calendar from January of 1988. Maybe you need to rerun that. You can rerun a line 274. That would be explanation point 274. and that's the calendar from January of 1988. We can use any one of these as long as the command is valid. If you punch in bad commands, you'll also see those in the list. This is technically editable. I don't normally edit this file, but you can open it in your file manager and edit these things if you need to get rid of a whole bunch of these things or some of the bad commands that you did. Generally, people do not, though. Okay? You can also clear this completely out of there. I generally, if I was going to do that, I would do it in here. You can wipe the file clean in a couple seconds just by highlighting everything, Control A, and then hit delete, which I'm not. Not even going to bother. I just wanted to let you see where it's located. Okay, Control H. Now you see it, now you don't. But anytime you generate those calendars that you're using it for either a single purpose, like a month, or if you're wanting to do a calendar for the whole year, keep in mind all of these can be outputted to your printer, Control P, as long as you've got a printer set up. And this will print these calendars. If you want to get really fancy, you can certainly open this up in a word processor, add your nice little photos of the kids, the pets, the friends, and then you can print them. If it's a color printer, maybe you can make a nice calendar out of it, or you can generate 12 months worth of these, increase its size, put the picture here, January through December, and then print 12 pages and then either staple them together, 3-hole punch, whatever. You can do it in a vertical fashion, so you can flip them, or you can do it in other words, either horizontal or vertical, as far as the layout is concerned. That is all manipulated in your word processor. In either case, I'm going to use Alt and F4. Thank you for watching.